And so you had more and more all across the country, including Florida, but certainly it was fever pitch in other parts of the country where parents, they're now going to these school board meetings. They're asking tough questions. They're advocating for their kids. And I think a lot of communities were happy to see that. And I know a lot of families were happy to see people speaking out for the values that they believed in. The Biden administration, working with the National School Board Association, didn't like parents having a voice. In fact, they did a letter from the National School Board Association, which we now know was engineered by people in the Biden administration and in these unions. But they were basically trying to characterize parents going to these school board meetings as akin to domestic terrorists. And they wanted the FBI and the Attorney General to get involved to try to referee these school board meetings. Now, we opposed that in Florida from the beginning, and we said we would not be cooperating with the FBI and we'd be protecting our parents. But it just shows you that was what they did. And then you had this governor's race in Virginia where you had the losing candidate say he said parents should not be involved in what is taught in the school system. And so there is a debate in this country about what role parents have in the education of their kids. And I think in Florida, with our Parents' Bill of Rights, with the bill we're going to sign here today, other bills we're going to sign later, we believe parents not only have a role, they have a fundamental role to be involved in the education of their kids. And that's how it's going to be in the state of Florida. We reject those that say parents not only shouldn't be involved, there's some say parents don't even have a right to know what is being taught in this. That there's actually some places where you can make serious decisions for these kids and not inform the parents about it. And so that is not going to fly in the state of Florida. We are going to make sure that parents have a seat at the table and that we protect their rights, because nobody is more invested in the proper well-being of kids than the parents themselves. And the good thing is, as we've seen this debate, most teachers in Florida want the parents involved. I know there's other parts of the country there, and I'm not saying that's true 100% in Florida, but most of them really want the parents involved. Most of them want to be focusing on education. I don't think most want to indoctrinate. I mean, we've had this debate about the education with this sexuality in kindergarten. That's inappropriate. I don't think most kindergarten teachers in Florida want to be doing that. But you do have some people that get elected to these school boards who are ideological. They're backed by special interests, and they have certain ideas that are not necessarily in the best interest of the kids and the parents, and even, I would argue, the teachers. So I just want to say I think a lot of folks in Florida are doing the right thing. And when we opened schools, for example, even though the union sued me to try to close the schools, the teachers, by and large, wanted to get back because they knew how important it was. And so we appreciate that, and we appreciate their interest in working with our parents. And so what we're going to be doing today is sign probably the strongest curriculum transparency legislation in the country. And what this is going to do is it is going to require transparency with respect to the materials that are being taught in classrooms or that are available in school libraries. And so if that's something that is going to be used, then that's something that a parent would have the right to understand and know that's going out there. It also provides an ability for parents to review this and lodge objections if they find the material to either deviate from state standards or to just be inappropriate. And unfortunately, we've seen some books in some of these libraries. I mean, you're talking about kids in middle school. Some of the stuff that has ended up there, incredibly disturbing stuff. And again, as an adult, you're free to consume what you want. So this is, sometimes people say, if you don't have every single book under the sun in the school library that you want to not have banned books. That's not true. We have the ability to choose what is appropriate for different age groups. Adults have access to what they want to have access to, but when you're talking about some of these kids, particularly these young kids, to have some of this really graphic stuff, in there is not in the best interest of the families and of the students. And so parents are going to have the ability to have their voice heard. And it also sets curriculum standards in terms of teacher professional development and the curriculum, making sure those align with required instruction and state standards. So, for example, we don't have Common Core. We don't have critical race theory. We want to make sure, again, we're doing education, not indoctrination. And so this is going to be a really significant win for parents in the state of Florida, and it will really continue to show people that we are for our kids getting that good education, but not being subject to indoctrination. Here's the thing, this is important. You have some groups that want to take away classic books like To Kill a Mockingbird, but they want things like Gender Queer, a Memoir, which is a cartoon-style book with graphic images of children performing sexual acts. That is wrong. That has no place in the schools. They want to eliminate Of Mice and Men, but Lawn Boy, a book containing explicit passages of pedophilia, is somehow accepted as being okay. And so parents understand when they see this. They understand how to blow the whistle on this. And I think we just need to make sure that they're equipped to be able to do what needs to be done to defend the education of their kids. So we're excited about this legislation. Sunlight is the best disinfectant when you're talking about it. And when you see some of this stuff, and again, I don't think most teachers want to do this, but how this curriculum comes to be, there's certain companies that do it, there's school boards do certain things, and so there's a whole lot of moving parts. So what ends up being in that classroom or in that library, we don't necessarily have, the parent doesn't necessarily have control, but at that point, once it's there or is going to be proposed, you have the opportunity to review. There's procedures that will be in place, and if it violates state standards, if it's not consistent with what we've set out under Florida law, then the parent can prevail. And so I think I think these are well-meaning reforms, and I think it's going to help give parents a lot of confidence that they can send their kids to school and they'll get an education, but they're not necessarily going to be indoctrinated to things that are very, very questionable. So I want to thank. And we've been able to do a lot in terms of education. Education Week rankings, the most recent one had Florida number 3 for K-12 achievement. And that was not true many years ago in Florida, but I think because of a lot of the efforts that have been undertaken over the years, a lot of what we've done with Commissioner Corcoran over the last 3+ years have really made a difference. And so I think we lost less during COVID because we really focused on making sure the kids would be in school than many other states, and so we need to make sure that we build off a lot of the successes we have, and I think this is a big step towards that. So we've got a lot of folks who were involved in this legislation, and the Florida Senate was able to pass this under the leadership of Senate President Wilton Simpson, so I want to give him the ability to come up and say a few things.